See, Jake, this is what happens when you put three guys who have grown up from day one on comic books,
Three
and you
guys with
try to
ADD.
and you try to get them focused. But
Wrangling cats.
yeah, right. I love that, herding cats. But this is episode 20 of our indie creator exchange and podcast. We are joined for a second time with Dan Snoke from Rave Sensation, who is a YouTuber who has a very extensive and eclectic comic book collection. And we're always excited to see his videos that are being posted when he gets his time to record them and get them up on YouTube. There's a link below, first line to get to Dan's Rave Sensation channel. But Dan, Jake, and I are more than excited to get you on again.
Big fan, big fan.
And yeah, big fan. And we're gonna just go right into talking about your YouTube channel. So, how have things been going with your YouTube channel?
Oh, they've been doing all right. Like I might have mentioned pre-talk, the there's certain videos I do because I really want somebody to support a current creator. But what I've kind of made my name on is, the vast majority of people come to my channel want to see me review these books because a lot of the books I have are expensive and no one else is reviewing them. And so they come to my channel to see, oh, I want someone to tell me what this book is. I want to know if this is worth tracking down or whatever. And so those videos get me a lot of views. But what I would really like is if some of the same people would jump over to the independent comics that I cover. But that doesn't seem that they don't get as many views. And I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm working on trying to promote the channel better as far as that goes.
Right. So yeah,
Talking about that.
I love coming across your posts. Sometimes I see that you promote them on Instagram, and then they take you over to the video over on YouTube. And you do, like, I love it when you come across some like old finds and oddities. And then it's also good, to go through new stuff that you come across, because when you're walking around at conventions, here's somebody that's not afraid to dig into their pocket a little bit and try something out. Worst comes to worst, you can sell it again later to somebody else. But one thing I want to ask Dan about is, how many comics you have at this point, and because there's this backlog, right, that we all have of going through comics. And so, what's the update with Dan on your hoarding, your hoarding issues?
Well, like I said, I have what is basically a garage. A storage space is as big as a garage, and it is packed. Now, I also, I don't collect just comics and books either. There is a lot of records in there.
Right. Guilty as
I
charged.
haven't really, I don't really buy vinyl as much anymore. I have too many records I've never listened to. I could say the same about the comics.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, a couple of years ago, the whole thing, if you listen to my YouTube thing where I do my OnlyFans thing is, I gotten into a depression about some things, and it was comics that kind of pulled me out. Now, of course, I still listen to music all the time, but I have not been doing the search that you need to do for music.
Right.
But in my storage, I have so much music too. So I have all this stuff there. Thousands of comics. They're big plastic bins that hold a couple hundred comics. They're not stored very well at all.
Right.
And I don't remember, you guys might be this way, maybe not, but I no longer remember. I'll see something and I'll go like, I don't know if I still have it. I know I did have it. I don't know if I still do. And then my knee jerk thing is, I want to look at it though, so I'm going to get it again.
Right. Then you do have it. You probably still do have it. So here's something that I go through, and maybe you have the same issue, right? Because we're all short on time, and when you're picking up comics, you got to get the bargains while you're there. So you get this stack home, right? And I'm just gonna show not too many, but I'm gonna show like some comics that reminded me of Dan, like maybe like interesting covers that kind of like suck you in and say, all right, maybe I'll get this. But what's that thing that happens when you get home and you're like, all right, well, I have like 60 comics to go through here. um how much time am I going to spend on each one? And you do that
Well,
thing where you just like flip through them a little bit, you get the idea, and then put them on the side for 20 years, right? Is that
no.
happening to you
So
too?
that does happen to me. I was just talking about the dollar comic show that was at, and you can watch the video and see me flipping through them. You can see my disappointment when I open some of them, but I divide them up. I have like three piles in front of me. I put the stuff like, oh man, I have really got to pay attention to this. Then there's the pile where, yeah, this looks good. This looks good. And then there's the pile of, oh man, I wish I hadn't picked that up. But even the stuff where I say I haven't picked this up, I put it in another area, and I say, I don't want to be too judgmental, too rushy, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes I myself, I know I have certain triggers where if I see it, I'll respond to it right away. But there's some art and some people I don't respond to right away, but I end up liking later. That
Right.
that's the
Yes.
way my mind works, so that I never get rid of anything. But but uh,
Right.
but that
Yeah,
is it.
because
I
you're
divide
always
up into
waiting for You're always waiting for that. Oh, I'll sit down with this. I'm going to read the whole thing.
exactly
You're never going to read
exactly.
the whole, right. And then, but that's what's good about your show is because you can take them and then finally, go through it and see what's going on. I mean, that's what I love about Rave Sensation is that you're really going through it for the first time, having you. I mean, you bought it obviously, but you're having these reactions, right? Like, oh, I see this there, or these this there, and then you're having these like genuine honest, candid takes on everything as you flip the pages, right? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah, that's fair. But and I get, some people will say, "Oh, well, I want to I want to hear your take after you've read it and analyze the whole thing." That might not happen for a while. And if you're like me, a lot of these things, like some of the titles, like the Fantagraphics Underground books, those are a very
Right.
limited thing. And if they really take off, they become huge collector's items right away.
Uh-huh.
And so, and that's probably the only time some of these underground artists are going to get the nice looking things that Fantagraphics does.
Right.
And so, I hate missing out on that stuff. And then, because I'm never going to pay a collector $200 for a book that was
Right.
originally $50. I'm just not going to do it. Uh,
Right.
so it's nice. I like it when I find out about something before that happens to it, and I think other people like that too. And I am just giving them. The other thing is my memory is not what it used to be. So sometimes I'll see something and you can probably hear my gears grinding, trying to remember,
Right.
why do I know this? What is the relevant story? But I like seeing other people do it, so I do it, and that's probably the basics of it. I like when when you guys are just flipping through your finds. Um, I was, uh, I just I like seeing something. I've seen stuff where people flip through stuff, barely mention anything about it, but I'll pause it because I see some art I like, and then I track it down. Um,
Yeah,
I,
and the thing where you pinch with your fingers and zoom in and stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Kurt, I know you have gotten some stuff off. How's your eBay hunting gone lately?
It slowed down a little bit, only because cash flow.
Yeah.
But I have kind of swung over to mycomicshop.com. I found that when you save the item as a favorite, there's times you'll get a login account. They have your email. You'll get an email notification that they've dropped the price on the book.
Okay,
Uh,
So
you're a
and I'm about
watcher.
ready to pull. I'm about ready to pull a pretty big stack right now, where all the prices have dropped on about a dozen books. And of course, it's all it's all one place being shipped from and stuff. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my secret really in success in getting those $200 books is, a lot of people, they do these estate sale types of things where they go in or clean
Oh,
out somebody's house and then they sell all the junk, because that's what I see. It's like this one book that they're selling for $10 that I know is worth 50, you know, and it's among like some knickknacks, some bric-a-brac stuff and everything. But the thing is that I do that save search. And so then I see that book, and then of course I snatch it up real
well,
quick.
that's cool. I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've never done that. I've gone to some
That's
estate sales where I found some good stuff, but I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
actually
And
at
you
the
gotta
sale.
dig. Yeah, you gotta dig. That's the name of the game. But I have to say, not to push this on anybody, but I also uh, once a year, and this is really from my wife, getting stir crazy with tubs and tubs of comic books. She'll ask me to get rid of some comic books, right? And so what I do is I'll go through. I'll make two stacks. I'll make a stack of comics I want to read, so I haven't read, like just like Jake was going on about. You bought this thing 2 years ago, you haven't read it, so I got that stack, and then I have a bin where it's like, you know what, I don't have any kind of interest in these books, and I throw them on eBay. Is then what happens, and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just sell them as a bundle. So I'll put a
Yeah,
lot, of 10 or 12 books on there, basically rounding out to around $1, and then get some cash flow that way too. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. My wife sells some of my books for me on Amazon,
Did she
but
tell you?
what's that? Yeah, no, yeah.
Does-
I
oh,
they're ones
okay.
I've picked out. They're ones I've picked out. I mean, I don't do comics. I
As long
noticed
as she's
more
do,
and
as
more
long as
comics are showing up on Amazon. More and more floppies, or maybe I just didn't notice them before. But generally, none of the ones that are worth a lot of money have made it there. I think I got.
Right, right.
I think I got like. I did sell off some DVDs that I had too. There was some Euro skin flicks that I bought because of the director, and the box set was been out of print for like I don't know 15 years or so, and that went for like 200 and some bucks. But
Nice.
generally I'm not getting rid of stuff that's worth anything.
so what have you got there for us today? I
Well,
noticed that the comic on the top there, it looks a little familiar.
so you guys, let me tell. I will say this: we were talking about in the other one. We were talking about the speed of getting things produced, and I made it,
Right.
and I made a joke. Um, but the fact that you guys are willing to take this time is really paying off. I mean, this is looking so great, and the size you've picked. This copy uh, that I've got. There's a little the bleed through of the one page into the next. You can see there. Um, at first, when I first got it, I thought like that looked like the copier was off kilter, but I realized it's just the other page shown through. It seems a little lighter, the black ink, but let me tell you, I'm all in, guys. I really hope you. I just don't know
Thank
how
you.
long it's going to take you to get through this. I mean, that is a great. I mean, that's the impact you guys have got here. The amount of black on the page, that background details are, it's that thing where, as much as I love Bernie Wrightson and Barry Windsor Smith, those are two guys where sometimes the pages were almost unreadable because the amount of stuff in the background. The amount
Yeah.
of detail in the background. Because sometimes it should just be it can be a pattern or it can be a color, but if it's too much detail that feels like your eye needs to read it even subconsciously, it can be very very distracting, I find.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good point. It's Bernie writes, and you think about those old horror stories, and then all of the early Conans with Barry Windsor Smith, and there was so much detail in there. By the time you print it on newsprint, and the,
Yeah.
the presses are kind of slapping at the pages, and then you have all that color work, which is probably overdoing it and too dark and too much, kind of garish, then it's not showing the work at its best light. And those guys are probably much better off in magazine format.
Have you guys both seen his book Monster that he did, his graphic novel, The Giant?
Yes. Yeah,
So that's one where
I
I'm
haven't
thinking
seen the whole thing. Yeah.
that's one where, and that's just what he says is going to be his last work. Um, but I feel like the reading experience was so slow for me, and he might have meant it to be that way too, for it to be something that would slow people down. Um,
Yeah.
but it's kind of overwhelming, to my eyes and stuff, because the amount of detail and texture on every page, I mean, it's phenomenal. When I look at a page as just a piece of art, I can go like, wow, this is stunning. But when I try and read the book, it just didn't read that well for me.
Yeah.
And so
It
so
might.
so that's what I was talking about, overdone backgrounds.
I think it was
I think
high
that,
concept. It
yeah.
was. I think it was high concept, and you really got to maybe pick it up 2 or 3 times before you really get the gist.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a matter of understanding the comic, as just like I said, it just was a bit much. It was just a bit overwhelming. But there's some places where I would have rather it not than actual detail where you can see what was that rug made out of, and he's done it. He's
Right.
drawn it down to such detail you can tell how it was knitted or whatever. Um, so
Right.
um, the
That's fun. So
but
yeah, so we do have a lot, of detail on some of our pages, and guilty. I think that's really
I,
I think that's really pushing us to consider larger format when we print.
Yeah, I definitely think you want these to be big pages. But here's the thing: is I'm not saying you've overdone it. I think you found a good balance, because sometimes I'm seeing the details, but sometimes it is just the dark, or it's just a texture alone,
Uh,
and I think that's great. I think you've got a good balance here of color on the page and ink on the page. I was just saying it can be too much, but I don't think that. I think it's good. I'd love it if you guys do this in a bigger size. This size here is great, um, and I kind of I prefer the bigger page, honestly. Uh,
yeah,
I wish
I
people would
think
do
we
their mini
have to.
comics this size.
I think we have to. I mean,
Yeah,
there might be.
there
Go ahead,
there's
Kurt.
some print on demand companies now that are starting to offer 9 by 12.
Wow.
So yeah, the ones I'm dealing with right now, they're not. But somebody just I don't think it was on your channel, because you would have then recognized it. But they had made indication that the book was done print on demand 9 by 12. So I think that would be. I love that as well.
Well,
8.5 by 11. I'm great. I'm great. But if you could give me just a little bit more, I think what you're saying about the pages would really kind of hum at that place.
yeah, and that gives you room for the gutters and everything. I mean, you've got plenty of gutter in
Yep.
here, but
Yep.
you've got plenty of gutter in your magazine. But sometimes whenever you finally print this and it's going to be so big, obviously you're going to have it bound like a book. And some of the books I've seen lately, they haven't really paid attention to the gutter, which is
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's weird that because things get sized up, sized down. I mean, this comic that we're making, and creators out there, you have to think about this. It might be appearing in lots of different formats. It could go
that's very
overseas. It could,
true.
somebody might print it overseas one day, and they might want it to fit with the other stuff that they do on the shelves and the racks and the boxes and the shipping stuff. But there's everything. I mean, we see, Spider-Man has been put out as regular comics, graphic novels, oversized treasuries, digest size. It goes up and down, up and down. But I just keep telling Kurt, don't do anything at 300 DPI. Like, we should do it all at like 4, maybe even 500 DPI, because you never know, how big you're going to want the original art. You're not going to want to go all the way back and recolor anything.
Yeah. Well, I did see the Watchmen done in a little digest form. When I saw how small the book was, I was going like, "Oh my God, are you going to even be able to appreciate this?" It doesn't look bad, but boy, uh, it's pretty small. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, I remember seeing Marvel comics that were like published in like South America, and they were like tiny, and they would take like 5 comics and just like cram them all into this little, and the Archie, same thing with Archie Digest, right? They take like
Yeah.
a handful of them and they just shoot them down into these little digests, and so it's everything all at the same time. That's what you got to do.
well. The first time I saw EC horror comics were little paperbacks. Uh,
Yeah,
kind of like because I had been buying. Uh, they did. I had, of course, been buying Mad already. That's the first place I saw Mad, the comic book version. The early 20 some was those best of in the digest. Um, I mean, I liked them as a kid because that's all I knew. But when you get older, and Warren did the same thing. Warren did some of those paperbacks with some of their stuff. I remember the Frazetta one about the Were Panther from like I don't know
right,
if it was
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
first issues. That actually, because of the way how he draws, there's some people who can be blown down and still look pretty good. But even that, as a kid, it's like, man, this is not, you know, it's monsters, but I wanted bigger. It's
right.
not a format I was really a fan of, but yeah, I mean, it's great if something is durable enough, it can be published in a lot of different sizes. If I had
And
my
and
druthers,
did you just flip us through and just like ogle at the
oh,
art,
I
or
bet,
did you get into the
yeah,
story?
yeah. So, here's the thing: is I already know more. I'm trying not to watch too much of the stuff when you're talking about the story, and I want to be a little surprised. I like being a little surprised, but yeah,
Yeah.
when I got this, and I was going like, wait a minute, didn't and then I realized, oh, I saw it on the show because then I was going like, wait a minute, how am I so familiar with some of these
How do
pages?
I know that,
Um,
right?
yeah.
It's like
so
it's like a dream. You just know things and you don't
yeah.
know how you know them.
But yeah, I think it's flying along. I think this is a very interesting thing you did back here at the end with these, this introduction to things, the timeline and stuff. Um, I mean, this is the kind of stuff you're, of course, when you get a book, you want all the behind the scenes stuff, and you want all that. You know, it's nice when you get a book and like a third of it is extra stuff besides what you've seen in the comics or something. And it seems like you guys are going to have plenty of that kind of stuff. Um, like I said, I think you guys have been, my only worry is that I might not live long enough to see you finish this comic. I am I am
Well,
65 years old.
You got. That's why we're
I
selling
have the
vitamins
same.
now. We're selling a vitamin multi pack, and we've got our turbo energizer tonic, and
No, I
No, but
have the same. I have the same worry. I have the same worry.
no, but the thing is,
You
it looks fantastic. I think you guys have something here you can really, really be proud of, and I think that's great because you've got these characters, and they're not the kind of faces that you're going to see in the comics that are you know uh, that get a mainstream audience, maybe, but maybe I'm wrong. These kind of over the top faces, but and stuff. But I think the right people are going to be absolutely stunned. I know there's people out there who don't know about what you're working on yet, who are going to be bowled over by this. Because it's because look at this. Like I said, you're covering every page. The amount of time you're spending on everything from the word balloons and the lettering. I mean, it's just great. Like I said, my only thing, where's that Alex Turbin when we the third issue. Um, I mean, the difference between that and say even this comic I was going to look at uh, what's his name again? I've forgotten already. Alan
Don't mess with
Robinson.
Tor. Okay.
Yeah. Um, the difference between the time spent on the pages is quite obvious. That doesn't necessarily mean it would be a better comic, but I think you've got. I think you're basically writing a really great B movie here,
Thank
in
you.
comic form. I think it's really terrific. Um, and,
Yep,
and
that's exactly what's in mind. It's like, to unfold like a B
Yeah.
movie and, try to
yeah,
bring
I'll
people.
admit, well, I have one fear about Jake and I's relationship because it has already happened. With AI's growing ability to type in prompts and get video is I'm always still looking. I know Jake is for easier ways to animate because
you're gonna
that's
give
what
this
took
up.
us
Dang.
with it. Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm just
Okay.
saying that it would divide. It would divide our
Time.
attention. But the whole thing is that right now, Jake and I, we have full time outside jobs, so it's a blessing to be able to get together, pretty much every Sunday with Jake and just do our thing. But once Jake retires, that's what we're waiting on. I have a huge worry for my time because I know the two of us are going to be like a house on fire. So, it's also getting it right. I am ADD and Jake is OCD, and I get out to a certain point, and I really do depend on Jake to help push me either a little further ahead or pull me back. So I also have to applaud my partner for his editor abilities. So we make a good team, and it's something Jake and I are completely baffled about is that we don't see more and more people out there doing this. Teaming up, really, you get so much accomplished because I say this all the time. Jake basically takes care of the things I don't really want to. And I take care of the things that Jake doesn't really want to. So that really gives a
that
lot more
that
freedom.
that that sounds good. I mean,
Yeah,
the
good
amount of time
partnership.
you're willing to spend on this, because at this point, quite frankly, I think a lot of people would be like, "Okay, this looks great, but I'm not going to get it out. People aren't going to see it. I'm not going to get the accolades I deserve." And so that's when you would start cutting corners. And you guys just seem
Uh,
to be
no,
sticking, because and that's how you're going to end up with a book that's really going to be something special, I believe. Um,
thank you.
and when you're this is the kind of artwork that if I was flipping through stuff looking for things, I would pick it up in a heartbeat, and I think that other people will be the same way. I'm just hoping that like I said, that you'll be able to have it
Pick up
printed
the
and
pace.
out
Yeah,
there. And no, not
yeah.
I'm just saying, you're gonna it's gonna be past the time when you'll be printing anything. It'll all be on a tablet.
Well, it's good. It's good to hear, the feedback as we go, especially by, someone like Dan, who is a comic reviewer. He sees a lot of product and different artists and material and stuff. And so, yeah, we did want to highlight the stuff in the end, in the last couple of pages, that
Sure.
extra matter
Sure.
back there, because we are launching a Substack, and what that's going to be is just a stream of bonus material for people that like to read and look at pictures, but it's not necessarily comics. It's going to be a way that we're able to, to present the backstory of the Turbo world and a lot of other characters along a pretty long timeline. You can see those bullet points on the left are all like the subcategories. And I wanted to put it to you, Dan, since you're our treasured guest. As you read those bullet points, those are going to be kind of like our subcategories. which one stands out to you as the one that you'd like to see prioritized? We are going to be taking the world through this kind of like downfall where, this big multi-trillionaire family is a big contractor, the biggest contractor for weapons and for everything, provisioning for the U.S. government. And then, they have a big falling out because they try to clean up the corruption. And then the company, the family just says, well, we have enough firepower to just take over everything. And they do. And then eventually there's a mass extermination, a depopulation of big cities. So all that's in the works in the storyline. But which one, if you had to, spin the wheel and pick one, which one would you like to see, like the first installment where we're putting out some story and we're putting out some illustrations and stuff?
I would think that I mean, as long as you're talking about the the end of the world, um, depending on how much you really do before the big
The
disaster
the
that leaves the
the
world,
D, yeah,
you
we're
might
gonna
want to
call it
start.
the mega apocalypse.
So if that doesn't take too long, I would start there. But if it's going to take a little while, because I don't know how you're going to present it and how much motion and stuff you're talking about, but otherwise you should probably start at the after it's right after it's first destroyed, and people are getting the hook people. But what do I know? I don't know how it's going to come out, and that's just me. But
Right,
I am
right.
one of those people who says like get to something that's going to be part of the heart of the story, and maybe
Right on.
maybe that first catastrophe and stuff. Maybe you're going to handle that in a way that will that'll be something to start it off with. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to do it. I do have a Substack account though. I don't remember the last time I looked at it, but I will make sure I check you out.
Right, yeah. At some point very soon, we're gonna start releasing our first installment, and
This Sunday. This
oh,
Sunday.
Woo!
wow, this
So by
Sunday.
the time oh yeah, I already have two
In the
in the
hopper?
can right now.
Yeah.
There and there, yeah. So yeah, you've given me enough for four. So we'll have a month in the scheduling that every Sunday around 11:20 they'll be posting. But yeah, the this is my push on Jake because everybody only spends about 45 minutes with Jake and I on a Sunday on a video that they watch. I spend more than that time with him. And then obviously during the week, and I'll be getting texts or even occasionally a phone call where he's like, "So I got this idea," and I'm like, "Okay," but he's got me so pulled into it. I'm like, "God damn it, write it down!" Like or he'll show me a sketch. So I finally a couple months ago was like, "Dude, you gotta start sending this to me, and we gotta build a Substack." Because the nice thing about Substack when it comes to promoting oneself as a creative, it acts as a blog that sits there out on the internet. So it'll capture people who type in words on Google or Bing searches, like, oh, I need Megapocalypse comics or whatever it is you get there. But every time the post is put up, it then sends everybody who's subscribed an email. So you
Yeah.
get to read it you get to just read it on your phone. So now it's a whole nother, it's another layer, which I find to be way better than any other email campaigning programs that I've dealt with over the last like 10 years. So I do encourage that for people who are trying to help promote themselves as creatives. And don't be afraid to use a big block of word to explain what it is you're doing or what it is that it is.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun because it's not gonna slow us down at all. We're still gonna have our weekly Sundays where we're making turbo and making the same progress. But Kurt's idea really was, Jake, take all the stuff in your sketchbook, give me those loose illustrations, and then take all that crap you're telling me about the backstory, and
Right.
write it up, and and Kurt maybe will do a little editing or something, but he's going to package it basically to so that we have installments, so that people will have something to read and look at from time to time that
Yeah.
will all feed into the Turbo world, and it should be a lot of fun. Like, I was just yesterday coming up with some stuff for the story of the giantesses when they start developing giantesses. And I was talking to Kurt over the last couple of weeks about this um, Bob Guccione character who's going to be one of the he's going to be one of the D. Huberton family guys that starts up the pleasure robot industry, or P-bots, and it takes over like the whole society, the whole family structure. The birth rate goes down, and males become all insulated, like incels and everything, and they all have these robot companions that they get promised, especially if they join the military. And it's going to go on and on like that. We got the sentients. Those are people that have been kept alive for you know hundreds of years. Let's say 200, 300, 400 years. Maybe like didn't get into the twos and 300s, but they're basically just like these shells that are like have like beating organs inside. They're kept alive. So a lot of different facets.
So underneath that that teaser of ours, you have a couple of little short stacks there, Dan. Now,
Yeah,
you know the thing once again is about you and your YouTubing career. And
career.
you're so excited to share these things, but you do stand out as a let's say indie comic book reviewer, as somebody who has not only an eclectic taste, but there's a very specific one in there. So do you want to kind of like use these books to maybe help explain who you are in being a collector, but why and how you're sharing them on your channel?
So, yeah, watch my channel videos that say fans only, or what is it called? Only fans.
OnlyFans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, my daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that.
That explains it. I don't want to go into the same kind of thing. A lot of it has to do with I like a lot of different stuff. I've collected a lot of different stuff. The problem is I kind of am having a little bit of problem with my memory, and considering my age, that's not probably good. But because I'm not that old, but so I found that I wasn't, you know, I was responding more to the even though I read a lot of books and I really like history kind of books, but if you can't remember something that you read the day before, it kind of sucks the joy out of some things. So a couple of years ago, I got really hard back into comics and visual stuff, which is okay because I've always been very interested in that. And so, and Rave Sensation was a fanzine I did at the time, and that black and white logo that's on there, that's from one of those use these letters for free books that I cut up and
Right.
used, that I thought kind of reminded me of the 50s and 60s sensationalistic, rock and roll magazines and stuff like that. So that's what that's all about. But yeah, it's just responding. It's very heavily based on visually on visual stuff, and it's much easier for me to get a spark of joy out of that probably than most things. So that's what I'm looking for. I like a lot of artists who are really really great artists, but there's a lot of very amateur kind of artists that also, because of their subject matter or the particular way they've chosen to draw things,
The
that is
passion.
attracted me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The honesty.
I would say passion. Um, I don't know about honesty because I don't know. You know, I mean, they're basically it's their version of the artifact artifacts that they've seen somewhere else. So, so it's a response to that same reaction they're having.
Yeah.
So I will look at a couple things here. One thing I'm going to point out is I did a Kickstarter for this gaming thing because this artist is somebody who I kept seeing his art all over the web, but he doesn't have any books out. He had a couple of expensive prints that I didn't want to get, and he did have a little portfolio, which would be great, but I can never seem to find it on sale. So I backed this role playing game. What I didn't realize was, yes, it does have a lot of this artist's artwork, but
Ooh,
it's tiny. It's done tiny. And I really
yeah.
like it,
Huh.
but I
Look at
wish
that.
I wish I hadn't paid that much for this for the little bit of art that's in it. But I mean, I do
Right.
like his art a lot, and I'm not sorry I got it. But it's not really because I don't play tabletop. I don't play the role playing games.
Right.
But I do like this guy's art a lot. His Peter Mullen, is that what it is? Yeah, Peter
Interesting.
Mullen.
Yeah.
If you look him up on the web and look at his artwork, he does some absolutely fantastic monsters and fantasy stuff. Um, it'd be great if he has some more stuff out there to do, but this is not the best showcase. And what the heck? Why do they have all these female?
I
What
don't know.
what is this?
I don't
I
know.
do not understand
Yeah.
the role playing
That
stuff. I just don't
looks
get
like
it.
a valuable guide of information for somebody, for
It's
something.
pages. One is just pages and pages of names. It's like one of those baby books they sell. Here's 1,001 names you could name your child.
Right.
Kind of weird. I don't mean to crap on it, but that's not what I was hoping for. So yeah, I do make some mistakes. But like, here's something. I saw this guy on Instagram, and I've whenever I see something, I try somebody who's got art. I try and follow them. I've only been on Instagram for a little while, so and already I've found too much stuff to order. So this is one thing. I saw his stuff, uh, and I decided to pick it up. One, let's see, Alan Robinson is the artist's name, and this is he's got this weird. There's this weird thing where there's all these little blotches of black ink in places, and I don't know
Huh.
what it's supposed to represent.
Right.
Um, you know,
Weird.
is it just to give some, you know, uh, and these explosions of blood? So I got it. Um, I got it.
Interesting.
It's not quite as what I was hoping for, but it's fun. There's a lot of violence here,
You know,
killing people with it.
I call those
What's that?
marker comics. And it kind of looked a little bit like Alex Turbin's work in some places. It seems like they get to a working style where they're not using pen and ink. They're not using a dip pen. They're not using a brush. They're just like maybe using some micron markers or something or
I
something.
mean, that
I mean,
could
it's a
be.
very uniform
That makes
line, you
sense,
know.
especially when you see the parts where it's black. That definitely looks like it's probably marker. Um,
Right. Yeah,
so
sometimes you could even see the stroke, when they're doing heavy
yeah,
fill-ins. But
like I said,
when you see that,
go ahead.
there's a little bit of shadow, a little bit of like shadow. I mean, that's the dark and light balance that Bern Hogarth, is supposed to be teaching us all how to do, and everybody tries it out on their own. But yeah, it looks like a lot of people are working with just stationary tools now, and that's one big thing.
Well, and here's the other one. I do like this particular type of figure that he's got there. I don't know who that kind of is reminiscent of. Is it if it's like
The
uh,
doll, Guy Caldwell. It reminds me of Guy
called
Caldwell, the doll, a little bit.
Oh
oh yeah,
yeah.
I doubt
Yeah.
that. I was thinking this guy might have been a John Byrne fan or something at some point, because that there's so many elongated bodies. But like I said,
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I'm not unhappy I bought it. It didn't turn out to be quite the home
it's
run I thought it
interesting.
would be. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot. There's some of the pages have a lot. Some of the pages are a little sparse, but
and
uh,
he also sent this print this on silver paper.
oh
So
wow,
a little extra bonus there. This is a horror vacuum decay. It's a horror anthology. Does that have a
Is that
date
an
on it?
oldie?
No, I just got it last year. I don't know how old. It's 2020. I got it.
Okay.
I know you guys are familiar, or at least Kurt's familiar with the Atomic Books here in Baltimore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found it there on their rack last year. So it's probably been sitting there for a couple of years now. But yeah, it's just a horror anthology. This is issue one. I think they had two or three of them. Um, you know, it's got interesting art. I enjoy anthologies. You always are going to get some pages where you're like, what the heck? But there's some fun stuff in here. This this
Yeah.
what's this is I guess this looks like Mike Dana. Yeah, Diana's maybe you say
Mike
his name.
Diana, yeah.
Who boiled
Oh,
Angel and that
wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
Boiled
So
in, yeah, very controversial stuff.
yeah, this
He
this one doesn't. This one is
doesn't put
somebody deep frying every living thing you can find and eating it.
Oh,
So,
that looks
and
like Mike Diana.
this is some different, some very different kind of things, um, and a lot of different a lot of different styles. Like I said, they
Right.
all have kind of horror and sunshine strips. I don't know where the heck they would have been. I had the feeling. And there's
Whoa.
Jasper Juvenile or something. I
You need
also
my
have
I need my microscope for that one.
Juvenile.
I mean
Yeah,
my magnifying
are
magnifying
these
glass.
incredibly small panels, which are like killer for my eyeballs.
yeah.
I'm surprised though that the dialogue is still readable. He has a great, I don't, I think it's hand done lettering, but I could be wrong because there's some people who do wonderful work with the, but
Whoa,
but
it gets even smaller.
Whoa. Shoot.
so
It's
so
crazy.
yeah, so there's that. This is his fourth issue of Dynamite Diva, which is his big character. Has just come out, and has been years in the making. And you see, it's issue four, but each volume has gotten bigger, and this is basically a book. Let's face it.
Yeah,
But he's a
I
great,
like I like that. He's got a hot rod art on the cover. You
yeah,
got these kind of like shiny black hair. I love that's like the Charles Burns influence, and it's really good draftsmanship. The pen and ink work is very dynamic, darks and lights. So I love that one right there.
yeah. I mean, he's a terrific artist. He's got all he's got fake ads and all kinds of stuff in here, and you know,
Yeah, it
cute.
reminds you of like some Fantagraphics maybe stuff, some Raw magazine,
Yeah,
getting clothes and
have you ever seen the Cabbie? It's by a European artist. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
graphic novels. I do a
Yeah.
video on that.
Yeah.
Fantastic parody of Dick Tracy. This
Yep.
reminds me of that a lot.
yeah.
And
But then he just
but
gets small. He gets
it
smaller and
is
smaller, and you just
insane.
yeah. I mean
I
that,
wish
but you
there.
know what? It's not that bad. I mean there's a lot of wordage there which you can't avoid, but there's also a lot of art on the page, and he's really packing
Yeah,
in the storytelling.
yeah, it's packed. It's kind of a repetitious story, but it's because it's building. It's using the repetition to build, and it works pretty well. But the thing is, part of this I think is because just like going along with Dick Tracy or something, each of these looks like it could be a page, a strip out of a newspaper.
Right. I
It's
was gonna
almost
say
Oh,
done.
yeah.
you could even
Um,
Yeah.
cut each page in half and just make that like a horizontal digest too.
every once in a while, see, every once in a while, there's a page where
A
he does.
splash, yeah.
And I wish there was. I quite frankly, I wish there was more of that because I do like that. And in this, there's a dream sequence. So, um, and there are a
Yeah,
couple real. There's a little bit of sex in this.
it's a
I'll
good
be careful. But
cartoonist.
anyway, yeah, I think it's a terrific one. Like I said, it's It's $25. So it's not cheap, but I felt
Yeah,
like
but
it was
look at
worth
all
it.
the detail in
Yeah,
on
I
every
mean,
page.
this is a book. It's not really a comic. When you look at it and it's saying issue 4 of a comic book, don't get confused because that's a book. So
Yeah.
$25 is not a lot for that. This is a Matt Simmons. I think he's British. I think I remember ordering this from overseas. Again, saw this on Instagram, and you can buy his stuff through the bigcartel.com. Um, he's got some pretty dirty stuff, and even this has a little sex in it, but the main thing is there.
Uh-huh.
But I really just enjoyed
That's different.
the
Look at those
color he was.
colored backgrounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just really thought, a lot of people do a lot of experimenting with the color and stuff. But whoop, but dang, I thought this was the better one to show. But I really like, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But I thought he does a really good job. I'm a good. Oh, he does a lot of takeoffs on He-Man action figures.
Right. Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, yeah. Where's the back one? There's the back of the one mini comic, and that was one
Yeah.
of the really dirty. That's one of the dirtier ones. I'm not gonna bother trying to go through this one, but yeah, I like it. I like monsters. I like the stuff. I like the color. And this is what I'm going to mention. Did a video on this too, but what the heck? You guys didn't seem to have seen this. This guy is a tattoo artist. Is how he makes most of his money, but he's also doing prints and stuff. And this is an expensive comic, but again, it's really a book. 96-page giant issue, really well done cover. The pages are good. This is Skin Crawl number 2. They're also available in cheaper black and white versions.
And what year did that come out?
This is I think this is really recently. Does it have it on here?
So I was
I wish
telling
people would
Kurt
put this.
I was showing Kurt after I visited my local Barnes and Noble for the first time in a while that they have these magazines on the stand that are made exactly in the vein of the old Warrens and Creepies and Eries. There's one called like instead of like Vampirella, it's called like Lady Vampire or something. And then they instead of eerie, it's like like uh, gory or shock. You remember that episode, Kurt, where we were looking at
Yeah, I
those kind
do.
of like
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
know those magazines. Hmm.
yeah.
Um,
So you're that this one's in the cover is in that format, but then when you look inside, it's very very colorful,
well,
like
the ones you're
shiny
talking
glossy blue.
about. One of the things that company's doing is they're licensing um, the old Frazetta covers that were actually used on Warren magazines. They're licensing the old
Yeah.
covers, so it's kind of weird. I thought that generally those were okay. I haven't really looked at a lot of them, but the thing is that
Yeah.
they're just pretty average. I wish they would do something that was a little more transgressive or something to give them a little more teeth than they have, because they do seem a little too much like just
The
kind of
form, yeah,
imitations. Yeah.
right. They're trying to imitate the formula, and then they have like a couple of good features in there, but then maybe by the time you get to the one in the back, it falls off. So I understand what you're saying, but everybody seems like they're harkening back to those covers. These insides are completely different. I mean, this is whacked out like
Yeah, I mean, look at
psychedelic,
these monsters.
ultra detailed, demonic, medieval, all kinds of like stuff going on. I'm not sure I like the shiny paper for that. It looks like the shiny paper is a little reflective, and maybe they should have
Um,
went to an uncoated stock.
I don't think that's wrong. At the same time, I think that that shiny paper gives a gloss that he seems to like for he does packaging art for different places and posters and stuff, and I think he's trying to get that same look
Yeah,
inside. I wouldn't disagree with you. I think I don't know what cost wise, but I think he's still shooting for that. I wouldn't mind seeing it on a less glossy paper. It would make the art a little moodier, although he does have enough darks that it's not bad.
that might
Um,
be one. Kurt, that might be one to try to chase down too. Look at that stuff, man.
Sure.
I mean, very
Sure.
Yeah,
original, very original.
he's been really leaning into going to places where he can sell stickers and stuff, and so he'd probably be willing to do an interview. I think he's open to stuff like that. But so that's that one. I'm going to do one last thing. Is that we were talking about the John? I was talking about Ken Landgraf, an older
The
artist.
workhorse.
Yeah, who is still doing some current stuff. Thanks to Kirk Oldford. Um, they're doing some current comics on Kickstarter. So he's keeping his hand in. But I was just pointing out to them this comic I have here. This is a bootleg somebody did. You know how cartoonist kayfabe will show off bootlegs people have done of obscure comics that are never probably going to get any kind of reissue, let alone some fancy hardcover. And so this was done. This is one of John Jacobs. John Jacobs is a
And what?
really obscure guy, cartoonist. These were from the '80s.
Okay.
I did a mini in not in the Rave Sensation, but in a punk music magazine called the WDC Period. I had a little article about him at one point when his stuff came out, and he's somebody who, like, I know Dan Klaus is a big fan of some of the stuff. But this bootleg, he took photographs of the magazine pages, and so you see the coloring there. Some of this is a little dark, but the printing of these comics was not that good to begin with. I have all the originals, and they're not the
Yeah, this is amazing. So somebody comes along, they love your obscure comic so much that they scan every page and they print and they put it out.
yeah.
You
He
know.
handmade the person handmade like I think 10 copies of
Oh, okay.
several different ones. This one is the magazine sized comics, and there was a smaller. Or no, this is the comic size. I'm trying to look at the format and see. There were two different formats they did the art in, and so there's two different volumes. The other volume has Doctor Peculiar, which is pretty much his most famous comic. Uh,
Dr. Peculiar.
but here's the thing: these comics have a very small undertone to them of religion because he did later more professional type comics with a much more overt religious theme. But so this is some of my favorite Landgraf comics because John Jacobs' stories are just whack. They're so crazy. They're just
Yeah.
crazy. And he does not have a good idea about, he's imitating other comics he's read, but he doesn't quite have a grasp on what's a good what a
Formula.
good comic was.
Right. Interesting. Yeah,
But
that's some
this is
crazy
fun.
stuff out there.
Landgraf, of course, it has all his usual things that he had in his New York City outlaw days. All that weird, um, uh, all the weird tones, the zipatones that
Zips.
that he actually just Xeroxed. He didn't buy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Xerox
I
them,
love that. I
cut
love
them
that.
out. It's pretty cool. I thought I had
Which is funny because if you have a 30% tint that you buy professionally on like adhesive film from the graphic arts supplier, and then you slap it on a Xerox, the 30% becomes like 50%, right? And you have a totally different value.
Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to remember what there's something where he famously took some zip from a cover of an album or something and used it over and over, and it was so obvious that people would say,
Recycled.
"Oh, that's that one. That's that zip. That's from this comic," which is very funny. Um, but and so that's I think we're getting close to our 45 minutes. So I'd also like to make sure we
Oh,
mention Kurt's other thing, Crom. Now, don't he's currently reworking this, folks. Right there, it is. There
It's
it is.
done.
It's very
Oh,
close to being.
it's
It's very
complete.
close to being
Yeah,
distributed now.
it'll actually go on sale August 1st on cromthebarbarian.com. I also want to say a copy is going to be heading your way, Dan, because I would love to get you to
Oh,
review it
well,
and give me your feedback as always.
I'm very excited.
So
I think it's a great idea that the old ones that you're reissuing, you decide to do them in black and white. I think that'll
yep.
help integrate it better. Um, and I was at first when you were working on filling the inks in and stuff. Um, you were doing something. It looked like it was going to be one of the things I don't really like, where people just put a lot of black wash behind everything,
Right.
gray wash behind, and it kind of looked like you were doing that. And I was going like, Kurt wouldn't do that. And see that you really have. I mean, it looks great. Sword and
Thank you.
Sorcery, of course. I'm all in for Sword and Sorcery. Um, I actually did a little sketch, and my daughter's trying to get me to finish it. I may or may not send it to you for a future issue, but I'm a little rusty. She was trying to show me how to do it on a pad, um, because she is so fast. When she does an element she doesn't like or she wants to change, she will have like 30 layers to a picture. And she just goes
Oh
flying
wow.
back through. Zip, 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 zip. Change that. Zip, zip,
Yeah.
zip, zip, zip.
Yeah.
I was like lost. I can't draw on the pad yet. I might try some. But anyway,
Good.
um, but I see, thanks for drawing the logo there. That looks great. Um, much more hip than the 50s ones I used for the original fanzine. Um, so yeah, so I just want to point that out that I've been noticing that, and all those people who you've wrangled into doing work for you.
Yeah, no, it's all going really well. The promotion side for the next month is going to be coming my way, so that's a real integral part of it and everything. But I just want to say thank you, Dan. Thank you for taking the time, coming on and meeting with Jake and I, sharing your passion for eclectic indie monster comics and art books, and also your support. So, it's just a very small community, indie comics, but it seems like everybody I run into is just a very heartfelt and passionate person that just wants to see this thing go off as
Yeah.
long as it can,
Well,
and share. So thank you very much.
well, I appreciate you what you guys are doing. I love to watch when you guys pluck obscure comics out and talk about why you like them. I've picked up more than my share from things that you guys. I would be like, oh, where did now I got to go track that down. And that's what I really look for is and luckily like I said, we do share a lot of things in common as far as the art we like, and even
Right.
where we differentiate, it's usually in an interesting way. So I'm good with all that.
Awesome. Jake, do you have anything on the out for Dan?
No, it's always great to hook up with Dan again. Can't wait for the next one. We always, I had a couple of creative suggestions for the next time we meet. I know, like, sometimes there's a book that, they come across and say this might be good for our next 3 Men in a Comic, but then also we got to catch up with Rave Sensation. And Dan, I don't know if you like it. I hope you like it, but I made you a little logo here. Maybe you want to, use it. Maybe you don't. But I'm sending you a high res version of this. So
Yeah, I saw you working on that. Well, thank you very much. Um, yeah, the old one, like I said, has sentimental value because it was from a fanzine I did back in the '80s. But you know, I probably need to change it up once in a while. There's always room for more than one version of a logo. So
yeah,
thank
well,
you.
this
It looks
this is
great.
maybe if you want to make a sticker for cons, or if you want to do a T-shirt or
Yeah,
something.
I
But
might do that. I do like stickers. I don't know that I'll be doing I don't know what I'll be doing. I'm hoping to. I am going to go to the that Ed Piskor con that his sister's putting on, and see
Oh wow.
what that's like. Oh, it's a very good. It's going to be very small. It's just going to be that's what they're saying. They rented out a
Oh
very
yeah.
big space. I'm afraid it might be really big, but
I
it's
yeah, I
not
did
that that's
too.
not that far from me. So, it's only like a 2.5 hour drive. So, uh, and I'll also be going to the Small Press Expo again this year, which is a good place to find indie work. People doing.
You
Right.
know what?
That's where I get that.
I think I'm going to try to join you this
Oh,
year.
that'd
So
be great.
I'll send you. I'll send you. I'm going to keep looking at my schedule, make sure everything's good, and then yeah, we'll either meet up ahead or at the show, and
Yeah, I
yeah, have a
think
good time.
I think I have off on the Sunday, so I don't know. Were you going to go Saturday and Sunday, or
Just
yeah?
one of those days. It was gonna be based on your schedule. So
So,
yeah,
oh, okay,
we'll
because
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Saturday's usually really packed, and
Yes, it is. Yeah.
so and I don't really like the to be people crowding up on you all the time. That's why the dollar bin show is so wild,
Right.
because some of those
Right.
guys, they'll if they smell it, they always think that whatever you're looking at might be what they want, so they're really pressing up against you all the time. Um, so yeah, so if we can work that out, that'd be great.
Cool. Cool.
Because like I said, that's where I found Relic Hunter. That's where I got the ash can for One Man War on Terror. Met Ben Mara. There's been a bunch of good stuff there.
It's a great show. It's a great show. Maybe
All
Jake
right.
will come down.
Oh, that'd be great.
Maybe. Who knows? Small press.
That sounds like one of my answers to my kids. Maybe.
It's a possibility.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you out there on the YouTubers.
See you at the
All
funny
right.
business.
See you later, gentlemen.
Later, guys.